Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 News First at 4. I'm Tom Sherry.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Whitney Ward. Well, another big announcement from Washington Governor Gov Inslee after weeks of saying that he could not force school districts to return to in-person learning. Today, he said he does plan to use emergency powers to require schools across Washington to do just that.
So as you can imagine, this is great news to the many students and parents that have struggled with remote learning and the problems that brought. Some kids fell behind in their schoolwork, and some parents had to actually quit their jobs so they could stay home with their children. Let's get straight to Mark Hanrahan, who is anchoring from home today with more on the announcement and what it means for students and parents. Mark.
Good afternoon, Tom and Whitney. For weeks now, the governor has said that it was up to local school boards to decide when to send kids back to in-person learning, but it's become clear lately he is getting frustrated with many districts because he says the evidence has shown when proper precautions are taken, COVID transmission in schools is really low, and he says it's becoming increasingly clear that keeping kids out of school is taking a big toll on their mental health.
I will be issuing an emergency proclamation that will give every K through 12 student that option for on-site instruction.
1 year after the state sent students home for what they thought would only be 6 weeks, Governor Inslee announced today he plans to use his emergency powers next week to require school districts to offer some in-person instruction for K through 12 students. A big reason why isolation is taking a toll.
We're doing this because we have experienced a mental health crisis for many of our children, and this will provide them an option that suits their needs of their families.
Dr. Nwando Anyaku, the Chief Health Equity Officer at Swedish Hospital in Seattle, said the impact is staggering, hitting underprivileged communities especially hard.
Here at Swedish, we have seen an extraordinary increase in the number of our emergency department and inpatient admissions due to psychiatric and behavioral health issues, a lot of stress, suicidal ideation, just suicidal attempt, just heartbreaking numbers. In just the first 2 years of 2 months of 2021, we're up 25% over last year. And we just know that that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Beyond the emotional toll, Superintendent of Public Instruction Chris Reichdahl says remote-only instruction has led to an increase in absences, especially among middle and high schoolers, and a significant uptick in failing grades.
In the form of engagement or student attendance, we are unfortunately at every grade level seeing impacts, but especially middle school and high school.
Reichdahl said right now about half of the state's elementary school students have some access to in-person learning. About 40% of middle schoolers and 30% of high schoolers have that same access. Under the governor's emergency proclamation, every district will be required to hold at least 30% of their weekly average of instructional hours as in-person on-campus instruction for all K through 12 students. So the good news is for us locally, many of our local school districts are already meeting these requirements or working toward them. A big one that so far has not, though, has been Seattle Public Schools. They have yet to return to any in-person learning. In terms of when all this takes effect, K through 6, they'll be required to start these requirements on the 6th of next month. The 5th of next month, and then K through 12 by the 19th. And the governor pointed out that for students who want to remain for online-only instruction, they have the option to do so. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Mark. In the meantime, Washington is moving forward with reopening starting March 22nd. Indoor spaces like restaurants, movie theaters, and gyms will increase capacity to 50% occupancy. Occupancy, though, is capped at 400 people. Physical distancing and masks will still be enforced. And soon fans will be able to attend more sporting events. Outdoor facilities will open with 25% capacity for spectators. This applies to pro sports teams down to high school sports. For youth sports, expanded spectator capacity begins on Thursday.
But just as things are starting to open up, the Regional Health District has confirmed here the UK variant is officially found in Spokane County. Scientists say this version of the coronavirus does spread more easily and more quickly than other variants, which may ultimately lead to more cases of COVID here locally. Interim Health Officer Dr. Frank Velasquez says it was only a matter of time before this happened, and now it means we can't give up wearing masks, social distancing, and getting vaccinated. In a statement today, he said finding variants in our community does not change how we respond. It does reinforce the need for everyone in our community to be diligent in following the health measures. Meanwhile, the hospitality industry has been crushed by this pandemic, with some hotel staff saying they just don't understand how they were able to survive this year. After only being allowed 25% capacity, many hotels now thrilled they can bump that up to 50%. And even though it is good news, the Davenport says they were actually shocked at how quickly we were able to move to phase 3, but certainly they are welcoming guests with open arms.
And I know there's a lot of pent-up energy with people that want to get out and travel, and gosh, we just hope that day comes sooner than later here. So.
The hotel chain is now trying to plan the order in which aspects to bring back, but they are starting with employees. The Davenport says they had to furlough 1,200 employees because of financial turmoil. Our Morgan Trow will have that full story and a story with a flash to the past in our newscast coming up tonight at 5 o'clock.
Well, if you are a fan of the Cottage Cafe in the Spokane Valley, we have a big update. After a year of being closed, the local restaurant says it's going to be reopening soon. The Cottage Cafe closed almost 1 year ago due to, of course, the coronavirus pandemic. The owners and staff remained tight-lipped on when it would reopen, but this morning they broke their silence and made the announcement on Facebook. Owner Drew Baker expects it will take them about 2 weeks to get the restaurant ready to reopen for business.
Give us at least 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, and by then we'll be 50% capacity. We need a little time to spruce up the place and just get ready. We've all been out, haven't done it in a year, so we need to maybe practice a little bit.
Well, they considered offering to-go food, but Baker says some of their food just wouldn't travel that well. So, and that really means that it's to be enjoyed dining in the restaurant. Coming up tonight at 5 o'clock, KREM 2's Amanda Rowley will share what changes you can expect when the Cottage Cafe reopens.
Lots of things to look forward to. All right, Tom, it's finally Friday. We are so excited, and it looks like it's going to be the best part of the entire week, right?
It really looks like it's fabulous. I mean, we've had a great weekend. Now we're looking for sunshine tomorrow. That's a live look outside, as you can see. Take a look at the weather headlines. We're talking about sunny and warm conditions on Saturday, partly cloudy and warmer on Sunday. We may not hit the 60, though, that I advertised yesterday, but we're going to get close. In Horseshoes, you'd call it a leaner. Cooler next week with rain at times. So, you know, March is typically kind of a cool, wet, and windy month. We've had a great first week of March, first 2 weeks, really. So next week, it'll be kind of a little bit more reality. It's 52 with wind out of the west at 7 miles an hour. I've got 56 degrees and sunny on your Saturday. Sunday now, because of those clouds building in, we think we might only top out at 59 degrees, which is still about 10 degrees above average. I'll have a look at your 7-day forecast coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Tom, thank you. Well, a jury found 19-year-old Tyler Rambo guilty yesterday on 3 counts of aggravated assault of a peace officer, but also found him not guilty of second-degree attempted murder and aggravated assault. The charges all stemmed from that 2019 Coeur d'Alene 4th of July shooting. The verdict came after 2 days of jury deliberations. Rambo pleaded not guilty to the 2 felony charges. Police say Rambo waved a gun and fired a round before pointing a gun toward police. This led officers then to shoot him 14 times. He lost the use of both of his legs as a result of that shooting. He has since filed a $9 million lawsuit against the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, the city of Coeur d'Alene, and multiple police officers. The lawsuit alleges the agencies did not adequately train, supervise, educate, and direct the police officers whose actions led to his injuries. Rambo will return to court May 28th for his sentencing.